On this day, February 26, nearly 14 years ago, the world would lose one of the most influential musicians ever. A man whose work would go on to inspire musicians from all genres. A man who would never live to see the millions around the world who his music would touch. A man named Seba June, better known by his stage name, Nujabes. I still remember the first time I heard a Nujabes track. I was somewhere around like 10 years old. I was at my cousin's house. We were watching Adult Swim, which we definitely shouldn't have been watching at that age. And this dope new show came on called Samurai Champloo. Little did I know it at the time, but this was the first time I would be exposed to the melodic sounds of Nujabes, as I'm sure it was also the first time for many other people around the world in the early 2000s. But at that point, I had no idea the effect this man and his music would have on my life. Born Seba June on February 7th, 1974 in the heart of Tokyo, little is known about the man who would become Nujabes' early life. After pursuing his primary education, Seba attended the Nihon University College of Arts, and there it is said he first began to discover his love for underground hip-hop and hip-hop culture. At this point in the early 90s, hip-hop culture was really beginning to penetrate the Japanese zeitgeist as the underground hip-hop scene began to explode in Tokyo. At some point during this time, either in university or post-university, Nujabes decided to open a record shop in the heart of Tokyo's hip-hop scene, Shibuya. Here in the hustle and bustle of Shibuya, Nujabes would open Guinness Records, his first foray into the hip-hop culture industry. Nujabes is largely known around the world as the godfather of lo-fi hip-hop, chill-hop, chill-step, whatever you want to call it. And while yes, Nujabes' signature sound would go on to be the blueprint for the genre that we would come to know as lo-fi hip-hop, calling Nujabes a lo-fi hip-hop artist is a bit insulting if you ask me. Nujabes' music is very uniquely his own. The man had a masterful way of seamlessly blending genres, most notably his infusion of jazz music into hip-hop composition, his love of jazz likely stemming from his father's career as an amateur jazz pianist. Simultaneously, Nujabes became known as the master of atmosphere and mood setting, as he had this beautiful way of setting the scene, this tranquil atmospheric track that really only a Nujabes song can do. I know it sounds kind of stupid, but one does not simply listen to a Nujabes track. Nujabes has this way of conveying emotion and feeling through his music, probably better than any other artist that I have ever listened to, whether it's one of his serene, introspective instrumentals or one of his many jazz infusion hip-hop beats laced with deep and emotional lyrics of the many American rappers that he collabed with. Nujabes' music is very much in a world, in a class of its own. Metaphorical Music was Nujabes' first studio album, made and released in 2003, and this is really his first foray into the sound that would become his own. The album opens with a smooth yet funky saxophone, accompanied by Nujabes' signature upbeat jazz piano. The song glides on our ears, being guided by these smooth piano lines, an upbeat snare drum pairing itself throughout as our saxophone returns for a groovy piece in the chorus, as simultaneously our ears are caressed by the soulful raps of Substantial and Pace Rock as they rap about their love of hip-hop.
We return, Maryland and Cincinnati to the far east side, and we just begun to spread the gospel. Substantial, Pace Rock, hip-hop apostles.
From here, we move into the second track as we cool down with one of Nujabes' many jazz-inspired instrumentals, this track called Horn in the Middle. This track is one of my favorite Nujabes instrumentals and a song that would in many ways kind of serve as the inspiration for many of the jazzy, upbeat instrumentals that we would come to hear in the anime Samurai Champloo. From here, we transition to the third track of Metaphorical Music, and what, in my opinion, might be the best song of the entire album, Lady Brown. The song opens with this rather addicting acoustic guitar riff, accompanied by light snare drums, until eventually the riff opens up with the sounds of Sissa Star's melodic rapping about a beautiful woman. Star hitting us with such awesome lines like, "So let's further advance to the next scene. Me sleeping next to you, resting. You are the personification of all God's blessings, coming to me in just one physical being, one physical dream that I want to redeem." While simultaneously, this beautiful acoustic guitar continues to ring out through the entire songs. In many ways, this guitar riff is really the centerpiece for Lady Brown as a song, as it flows through the song in its entirety, and in my opinion, it really contributes to helping set the mood that Nujabes is trying to achieve, while not taking anything away from the amazing lyrics and flow of Star. Lady Brown is really classic Nujabes in the way that he has molded two genres together into something that on paper really sounds like that it just wouldn't work. But the final result is something so beautiful, so upbeat, a kind of love song that has what I can only describe as a timeless sound.
With the long black hair, teasing me with the kiss and the stare. Slight touch and you taking me there. So fine and it just ain't fair.
This is one of my favorite Nujabes tracks that also features a rapper. The guitar is so warm and so inviting and all-encompassing, it just feels like it's wrapping you up like you're in a blanket in its warmth. It is a classic Nujabes song and is probably one of the first hip-hop songs that I would truly describe as beautiful. From here, we move on to the fourth track of the album, the instrumental Kumame, a song that in many ways might be the first song that could be described as chill hop or chill step that Nujabes has made. Kumame opens with this atmospheric snare beat as a piano suddenly begins to glide in, taking us on this magic journey of thought and introspection. In comparison to many other producers and artists, Nujabes was extremely hands-on in the creation of his music. He wanted his songs to convey a certain message or a certain feeling. He would even go as far as to change lyrics that his features wrote to better fit the mood of the song and the emotion that he wanted it to elicit. Kumame is, in every sense of the words, a mood-setting song. The song is light and delicate and surreal in the way that the piano flows over this never-ending groovy Nujabes signature double bass beat. Light strings interweave their way through the background while the forward piano guides us through this dreamy landscape that the song creates. Kumame is a beautiful experience. It's a song that you never want to end and could easily just listen to on a 3-hour loop while you were sitting there at your desk studying. This song in particular, I think, really inspired a lot of the whole lo-fi beats to study to, that type of music in this genre, and I think that it's really easy to see why when you listen to it. Skipping ahead to the end of the album, we can't talk about Metaphorical Music as an album without talking about the outro track, the 8-minute plus instrumental jazz fusion experience that is Peaceland. Peaceland is a true Nujabes atmospheric masterpiece. Its smooth drum loop playing host to a combination of wind instruments that kind of guide us through this almost melodic wonderland. This song always makes me feel as though I'm drifting through clouds over beautiful Tokyo Bay, the sun just peeking behind the shadows of Mount Fuji. Metaphorical Music became a hit in Japan almost overnight, and Nujabes went from this underground producer to a massive figure in the Japanese underground hip-hop scene. Not long after this album's release, Nujabes would team up with several other well-known Japanese hip-hop producers to create the soundtrack for a certain anime from my childhood, Samurai Champloo. Many of these songs in the Samurai Champloo soundtrack would become to be some of the most iconic tracks of all of Nujabes' discography. Nujabes was really the kind of clear and obvious choice for designing the soundtrack for an anime like Samurai Champloo. an anime that combines the culture and society of Edo-era historical Japan with the sounds and attitudes of 90s and early 2000s hip-hop. Samurai Champloo was really one of my most early introductions to anime as a concept, and also my first taste of hip-hop music and hip-hop culture. Champloo is an absolutely amazing anime that tells the story of two samurais' rivalry while implementing swift cuts, record scratches, and beat switches throughout its fast-paced action scenes. The opening track Battle Cry of the Samurai Champloo soundtrack would become iconic for 90s and 2000s kid everywhere. This track would be the opening theme for the anime and would play before every single episode, the song becoming synonymous with Samurai Champloo. As rapper and longtime friend of Nujabes, Shing Otu spins tales of the life of a wandering samurai, while that smooth Nujabes signature double bass takes us on a ride. This intro paves way for one of my absolute favorite Nujabes instrumentals of all time, The Space Between Two Worlds. The song featuring this kind of classic 90s drum loop interlaced with very subtle synth in the background, while this absolutely beautiful guitar riff just glides through the entire song, taking us on this kind of journey of serenity and peace. It never ceases to amaze me how absolutely groovy this song is, while at the same time exuding this peaceful, serene energy that really only a Nujabes track can do. As well, the Samurai Champloo soundtrack features what might be the most iconic Nujabes track of all time, the instrumental Agrarian Dance. It only takes one Google search to see how popular this track is, with numerous different uploads to YouTube and remixes, all of which have millions and millions of views. Once again, we are guided through another Nujabes track with the sweet sound of this guitar riff, accompanied by a smooth drum beat, interlaced by this really beautiful string sample. Agrarian Dance shows just how a master like Nujabes can take something so simple and turn it into this melodic masterpiece. Once you listen to it, it's very easy to see why this song seemed to encapture so many people. Agrarian Dance to me is just one example of several Nujabes songs that to me have this almost timeless sound. Not only does the track fit amazingly well as a vibe for a story about samurais in Edo-era Japan, its easy melodic tune, catchy guitar riff, and really this kind of pure soulful sound transports you to another world. And for many, this song is Nujabes' magnum opus. Agrarian Dance is followed up by another instrumental track. To me, this one might even be better than Agrarian Dance, Mistline. Mistline opens with a very classic Nujabes piano melody, the sad, mournful piano riff guiding us through the entire song, as flutes and other instruments create this kind of almost magical ambient effect. To me, Mistline is one of the best examples to show how a Nujabes track is able to elicit pure emotion from his music. The song is sad and mournful, yet at the same time, it's somehow completely full of hope. Every time I listen to this track, it really takes me back to the year I spent living in Japan in my home on the beach, as every night I would walk up and down the beach, oftentimes listening to Nujabes music, the sounds of the ocean rolling in on the Japanese coastline. To me, it's really impossible to listen to a track like Mistline without feeling some sort of emotion well up inside of you, and to me, that really is the beauty of a Nujabes track. The Samurai Champloo soundtrack is some of Nujabes' best work of his entire career. It's so much more than just like anime music, and it gave Nujabes a platform to share his love of hip-hop with the world. Shortly following the Samurai Champloo album, Nujabes began working on his second studio album, his final studio album, Modal Soul, which he released in 2005. Modal Soul takes everything that Nujabes had learned so far from metaphorical music in the Samurai Champloo soundtrack, and he combines all of this to create a polished masterpiece of atmosphere. According to one of the producers who worked closely with Nujabes throughout his life, Modal Soul was a transitional album that changed from sampling music to live music. At that time, Nujabes was very conscious of wanting to turn hip-hop into real music and was looking for musical complexity. He used to say that he wanted to bring hip-hop music to the same level as jazz, soul, rock, and pop music. We can see pretty clearly here from his words that Nujabes very much had a mission for his music, for everything that he did. All of the things and the choices he made in his music was intentional. He wanted his music to elicit a certain feeling in his audience. He wanted to take you on a journey. And I really think that Modal Soul is the culmination of Nujabes' mission. The album opens with one of my favorite Nujabes tracks of all time, the song Feather. Nujabes once again using a very catchy and addicting piano loop sample that guides us throughout the entire song, while a simple drum beat works its magic in the background as we are serenaded by the deep, intricate raps of Cisse Star. This song is deep and introspective, yet positive at the same time, as Star raps about how to cope in this dark world that we live in.
Better than me, 'cause that's the heavenly key to unlock the inner strength for my essence will be. It's the knowledge of self, understanding of the things around me.
I'm drifting away like a feather in air, letting my words take me away from the hurt and despair. So I'm keeping it vertical, forever elevator, riding the escalator to the something that is greater. Like the beat, the rhymes from Star really project this positive outlook on life in the face of so much darkness. And it's so infectious. Feather is a song that you really just can't help but kind of like nod your head to. This is Nujabes at his best, the way that he combines a simple yet very layered instrumental with the deep words and philosophy of Cisse Star. Following Feather, we have Ordinary Joe, a soulful track featuring soul singer Terry Calais, delivering a beautiful performance, while simultaneously Nujabes serenades us on his signature flute. Reflection Eternal is the third track on the Modal Soul album, this song containing a soft, flighty, almost dreamlike sound, which gives the listener's ear a break after the other positive, two uplifting sounds, the first tracks of the album. This song is another perfect example of the beautiful art that Nujabes is capable of making with just a few simple sounds and simple techniques. As a piano melody loops over a forward drum beat, as simultaneously we are serenaded by a vocal sample. Horizon is the closing song of the album, and to me, it really just fits perfectly as the final track. Once again, we are treated to another Nujabes melodic piano loop, interlaced with an upbeat drum beat and Nujabes' iconic flute sound. Modal Soul is a melodic, atmospheric masterpiece and is the culmination of all of the techniques and sounds that Nujabes had learned and adapted throughout his life. Sadly, though, this would be the man's last studio album. However, it's almost impossible to talk about Nujabes, his music, and his art without talking about his friendship with rapper Shing02 and their collaborative project, the Luvsic Hexalogy. The Luvsic Hexalogy is a 6-part project that was released over 15 years and is a collaboration between Nujabes and rapper Shing02, a project that is by far some of my favorite pieces of music that Nujabes has ever created. Each of these 6 songs is an alternate take on the previous, with the shadow, the ghost of the same beat and melody being present within all 6 of these songs. Luvsic Parts 1 through 3 is a series of love songs, a love letter, if you will, written by Shing02 to the woman of his dreams. Parts 1 to 3 are all amazing, each in their own way, each managing to give off a different sort of feeling as Shing02 puts on a absolute masterful display of wordsmithing, a display that I think would even give Eminem a run for his money. I think that out of the first 3 Luvsic parts, part 1 is probably by far my favorite. The funky way in which the beat opens and the copious amounts of record scratches transport me back to a much simpler time.
Love sick like a dog, canine sensitivity, developing this new theory of relativity, connecting the soul.
The writing of Shingo 2 is just absolutely brilliant, from his choice of words to his vocabulary usage to his rhyme scheme. Luvsic at times feels almost more like you are listening to poetry than it does a love song or a rap song. The last 3 parts of the Luvsic Hexalogy, parts 4, 5, and 6, however, take a drastically different turn in mood. As in Shing's words, parts 4, 5, and 6 stood for encounter, parting, and reuniting. These 3 songs are some of the saddest pieces of music that I've ever experienced. Shing wrote the lyrics of part 5 of Luvsic shortly after the passing of Nujabes, and what we are left with is Shing's raw emotional thought process, him processing the raw reality of his emotions live on this track. Whereas part 5 was Shing struggling to accept the reality of Nujabes' passing and him dealing with his emotions in this very raw way, part 6 shows Shing's acceptance of Nujabes' passing, and the song is almost more of an ode to the love that he had for his friend and their relationship with one another. The story of part 6 of Luvsic goes that a few weeks after Nujabes' death, the instrumental that would become part 6 was found as an MP3 file on Nujabes' cell phone. While part 5 was this kind of melancholy, sad beat, part 6 has this almost angelic-like quality to it. As we are serenaded by Shing's rap, a sampled choir of a chorus kind of fills the back of the track, as sweeping string instruments carry us away on this almost kind of magical, angelic journey.
Of love, you mean slavery? Surely it's been quite savory. Crepe on the back of the...
The Luvsic Hexalogy is probably my favorite project that Nujabes has ever worked on, each song being its very own unique expression of Nujabes' mind and his pure love for music that he and his friend Shing shared together. On February 26, 2010, just 5 years after the release of Modal Soul, Seba Jun would be involved in a traffic collision on Shuto Expressway in Tokyo. He was rushed to the hospital where shortly afterwards he was pronounced dead. Possibly the saddest part of the entire Nujabes story is that he would never live to see the rise of the internet, YouTube, and the streaming era, which happened literally just several years after his death. Only a couple of years after his death, Nujabes' music would explode around the world. People from all different aspects of life were now, for the very first time, being exposed to the melodic music of Nujabes. I think it's impossible to deny the effect that Nujabes' music has on those who listen to it. When I listen to Nujabes, it almost feels like he knows me. It's as though his music is speaking directly to me, speaking directly to a part of my soul that kind of connects us in this human way. Nujabes in his music, his works, are extremely important to me, and many others throughout the world. His music is one of the main reasons that I packed my bags up in 2016 and moved to Japan for a whole year, because I really just wanted to experience this far-off world that Nujabes had once called home. There's really something surreal, and dare I even say it, spiritual, about walking through the streets of a Japanese city, maybe like Fukuoka, at night, listening to Nujabes' music. It's almost as if somehow listening to Nujabes' music in his country of birth, the place he called his home, it somehow felt as if I was connected to him even more so. Nujabes did more than just made music. He made something deep, something that was meant to touch something inside of us as humans. His ability to elicit emotions and feelings within his listener is something that I think is unmatched by any other artist ever. To this day, there are several Nujabes songs that really fill me with this overwhelming sense of emotion anytime I listen to them, and I really think that was the point. The man left us with nothing outside of his music. No interviews, no diaries, no journal. The man was extremely private, and we know very little about his personal life or really just who he was as a person. All that's left is his music and the memory of who he was by those who knew him best. While Nujabes may have died unexpectedly, he continues to live on through the music that he has created, the way that it speaks to something deeper inside of us as humans. And I'd really like to think that even now he's continuing to look down on us, feeling that his mission has been complete, knowing that he has touched the lives of so many people in such a positive way. It really is amazing to me how this one quiet man from Japan was able to drastically impact and change the music industry forever. Thank you for everything, Sebajun. Our world was made a brighter place with you, and you will forever be missed. May you rest in peace. I am Finn. This was finnfilms. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. As always, drink your water, hug your mother. Until next time, peace, love, Adu.